Now that the vehicle is raised and supported, we're going to remove our lug nuts so we can get our wheel off of here. Now that the wheel's off, we're going to push back the caliper. You want to do that slowly. Once you have that pushed back, you're going to remove your caliper slider pin bolts. That's these right here. Leave that in just a little bit. Do the same to the top. Remove those bolts. Set those aside. Remove the caliper. Take a peek right up along here to make sure you don't see any fluid coming out. Remove your caliper bracket bolts. There's our bracket. Just start on one of your lug nuts so the rotor can't go anywhere. Hit this with some penetrant. After that's been sitting for a little while, give it a loving bonk with your hammer. Nice. There's our rotor. Now's a great time to take a peek at your emergency brake shoes and just make sure that they're not worn low or coming apart. These look good. We'll clean the area down. This area right behind here is your e-brake pivot. Hit that with some penetrant and just clean down your mess. This little piece right here is your star adjuster. That's what adjusts your e-brake shoes. Hit that with a little bit of penetrant. Very nice. We're going to put a little bit of copper never sees around this mounting area. Once you've compared your new parts to your old, and you're sure you've got the right part, it's time to clean down the braking surfaces. Use a little bit of parts cleaner. Go right along your inner braking surface, your emergency braking surface, and of course the outer braking surface. Put this up on the vehicle, grab one of your lug nuts, and snug it up so this rotor can't move around. We made our way over to the bench with the caliper bracket. Let's start stripping it down. These pads out of here. Yes, I know they still look like they got plenty of meat. These tins off of here. Spin this around. These right here are your sliders. Let's make it so you can see. Just gonna get that boot off of there. A lot of rust in there. A lot of times what happens with this is it's not making a good seal. Moisture can make its way down and in between. Generally speaking, this will be frozen inside here and it'll waste your brake pads because the sliders can't move. Okay, both these look the same. We don't have to worry about mixing them up. We're gonna clean these up so they look brand new. We cleaned up those sliders. They look really good. Set them aside. Now it's important to make sure you clean out the areas where the sliders go. To do that, use some parts cleaner. Just like that. Little bore brush. Collection receptacle. Dump that out. Oh yeah, nasty. Do the same to the other side. All right, so let's assume that you're doing your brake job and your caliper slider boot tore. Well, that's pretty common, and it's really not that big of a deal. Let's get this out of the way. New little mat. Here's what the boots look like. They have this little shank that goes into the caliper bracket. So what we need to do is we need to get under this lip and try to pry it away from the caliper bracket and get it right out. And then we're just going to reinstall this one by pressing it in. There it is. Looks about the same. Now I'm going to get a socket that fits right over this lip, and we'll continue. Now's a great time to take a peek inside there and just make sure it's cleaned out. That looks great. I've got my slider boot there. I'm using a 17mm socket. Fits over perfectly. Now we're just going to tap it in until this bottoms out. Getting close. Okay. Check it and make sure it's on all the way around. That looks great. Let's do the same to the other side. This one's obviously a little worse than the other side, so we're just going to make sure we clean this up nice and pretty. Next thing we need to do is clean up this area right here. This is where your tins are going to ride. If this area isn't cleaned up, it's going to raise up and you're going to get your pads stuck inside the bracket. You can use something simple as a brush. Give it a scrub. That might take a little while. Or you can use a tool that looks like this, has a little sanding disc on it. And generally speaking, that'll make it look much better. Now that we have both sides of the bracket cleaned up, we're going to add a little bit of lubricant. This is going to help with vibration and noise. And of course, keeping moisture out of there. Put your tin on there. Slide on there. Nice. Do the same to the other side. Next, we're going to use a little bit of synthetic moly grease. Just go right around this slider and then up along this lip right here. And that's very important to keep the moisture out. Coat it. Looks pretty good. Give it a little twist. In and out, in and out. If you feel like you need another layer, just throw some on there. Slide it in. Nice. We'll do the same to the other side. Now that everything's all lubed and set up, we're just going to try using a pad and see if I can slide it in. It should want to slide in nice and easy. If it's difficult and you feel like you need to use a hammer to do it, odds are you didn't clean up the bracket enough. This feels great. The pad can move around freely. Check the other side, of course. All right, so we've got our caliper bracket here and our bolts. Let's get them mounted. Once you have them bottomed out, torque them to 85 foot-pounds. Install your brake pads. Next, we're going to add some lubricant along the caliper piston and along these two ears. That's going to help with noise reduction and vibration dampening. Nice. Let's install our caliper slider bolts. Torque these to 25 foot-pounds. Now let's do the same to the other side of the vehicle. Let's get our wheel up on here. Bottom out all your lug nuts and torque them down. Torque your lug nuts to 110 foot-pounds. Torqued.